This is the first installment of my 1950s inspired coat. This will be part 1 of 2 of the making and construction of the garment. Part 1 will have to do more with patterning and mock-ups, and part 2 will have more to do with the actual making of the coat. This was a fairly long process that spanned close to over a week of work. This is to show the somewhat realistic version of what patterning can look like. So without any more yapping, let's get started. I have it here. Okay, so I'm a little bit frustrated. The at least front piece of it, I have one panel here. It's a very small piece. And then I have this tiny dart here, which is going to be near the bust. And then this is the surrounding area. So I already had kind of drawn it out. It's very, very roughly 1950s-ish. I have 4 panels for the front. So right now I'm doing the top part of it. I have not worked on the skirt yet. I think I need to extend the top part here, and then it's going to be about the same with this, but it's going to have, instead of having a seam down the middle, it's going to just not have a seam, and it's going to be possibly a little bit bigger because it's not having to go around the bust at all. So we will see though. I am completely drafting this by just what I know, and I wouldn't say I'm as experienced with coats. I mean, I've made a coat. I have done it decently. I don't think it's bad for a first time coat. It's not the best either. So I'm going to work on that. And then eventually get to the back, which I don't even know how long that's gonna take. Obviously not big enough, but very much roughly. I began by seam ripping the mock-up pieces so I could make a new and improved pattern. Alright, so the front piece has been taken off, and then I took them off with the back piece so they're not connected by the shoulders anymore at all. I'm gonna have to take apart these as well, because those are part of it. I just know it's gonna be so many pieces that I'm gonna have to get. It's gonna just be a lot. Hopefully I don't get some horrible wrist injury from this, but I'm going to just trace it, and then where it is uneven, I will add additional stuff. And I'll do that in pen afterwards. I don't think I'm gonna do it in pen yet though, because that's kind of dangerous. After I finished taking apart all the pieces, I then laid them out on some pattern paper to trace. And once the tracing was complete, I went ahead and cleaned up the edges with a pen and made sure all the edges were even. This was a very long and arduous process. Some of these clips have been sped up to like 6 times speed, and it was still slow. I shall see. I'm back to bother you again. Hey. Alright, I have been on and off working on this mostly all day because I haven't been able to fully focus on it just because I've been busy. But if I look at it now, like just looking at everything, I think I think it's good. I don't think I'm going to put the dart actually right underneath the bust. I don't think I need to. At least from when I just made the pattern bigger and when I made the mock-up larger, I don't think I needed to put a dart there because I tried it on and it looked fine, at least in the front. Because I noticed all the dart did was just kind of pull up more than this. And then did it fix much? I don't know. That's what mock-ups are for. If I need to, I can just reseed and check. But other than that, there's only 2 pieces on each side. I then started on the front pieces. This process was about the same as the first one. Just tracing, then marking with a pen to clean up the edges. Both pattern pieces have been cut out. The front pattern has been cut out. And the back pattern has also been cut out. So that means that I need to get some muslin, or at least a throwaway fabric, and see how these do. I don't know. We will see. Coats are very complex. I mean, the pattern I drew was not necessarily the simplest pattern in the world. I mean, coats are not really supposed to be very simple anyway. It takes a long time for me to cut stuff. And then I'll be back after I sewn everything. I first made sure to fill up my bobbin before sewing all the seams together and then ironing all the seams flat. I also ended up cutting the little side pieces of the paper pattern, just so it would be easier to trace them onto the muslin. And then I decided to hand sew the back pieces with a somewhat loose but still neat combination stitch. How's it looking so far? It fits me pretty well. Overlaps like what I wanted it to do, which is great, you know. The only thing is that maybe I can make the armholes a little bit smaller because these are a little wide and they don't really line up as well as they could. But other than that, it fits, it's comfortable. This doesn't really poke out as much like it did the first time. If I want it to work as well as this, then I'm going to need the sleeves to be a little more dainty. And then I need to figure out the whole skirt thing. The skirt should be the easiest of the entire construction. Because if I go all the way back here, this is what my original first coat looked like. This was the original design. It was very, very slightly-esque of Victorian era-ish. But see, there were only 2 front pieces, and then 3 skirt pieces, which was the front 2 and then the back. Yeah, not the best thing. That's a waistcoat project that has not happened yet. So, you know what, we'll figure it out. But until then, I need to finish the sleeves, figure out how that is, so we'll get to that. I once again laid out the pattern paper and began sketching out my front piece, knowing I would need to make a lapel with that said front pattern. But then I realized that I don't know how to really draft a lapel or collar, so I decided to research a bit before fully committing to this pattern. So I was just looking at some of these inspiration photos. This one, this is not like the exact pattern I'm going for, though I would like a belt. I think a belt would be actually really nice. But I want to do these types of lapels. See, the other pattern I was looking at, style, the red coat is probably the one I was looking more at. Both of these are like the same. I think they're just slightly different. I like the button configuration, but see how the pattern was picked there with like the swooping edge. That is what I was going for when I kind of restyled it. And I mean, they're fine, but they're just very, very basic. And I was kind of wanting to go for something a little bit more fancy. And so that coat, when I was looking at this this lapel as well as the belt. I do want to have a belt, and I don't think this one has a belt. Yeah, this one doesn't have a belt. I mean, it would look fine with or without a belt. Be a little bit, the lapels might be a little too big on this one. I like the lapel on this one, so this is probably the one I'm going to be doing with lapels. So the lapel with this, but then the pattern for this, basically. And as I go with it, and as I work with the pattern and kind of figuring out the skirt, I'll change things. Everything will, it's all a lot of work in progress right now. But that was just the idea originally. I want to do one that's a little bigger. I don't want a crazy collar like the ones that are almost at the shoulders, because those are a little pointless. They're not necessary. But that is all to be continued.
Basic torso or bodice. We need enough space to draft the lapel.
Alright, I am back from my patterning adventures. So I quickly kind of researched and worked on the lapel pieces, which I have right here. You can see it. It's kind of sketched out right there. So, and I need to cut the collar piece out, and I did the work for the lapel. I think it's about the size I wanted, and it was just off of kind of like a random tutorial as well as random research I did on it. You can barely see anything, but it would be like that. Which is a nice size lapel. This piece I'm using for the pattern, because I'm actually using like a random like old wallpaper piece, because it's the only like kind of like thick cardstocky piece of paper I can find. It's patterning, yeah, you get hungry. This is the left side, or this is the back side actually of it. Little piece here I need to put on forward the back of the neck. So I was just cutting that out, and I need to finish that. It is not a simple task at all. So hopefully I can be done with this soon, and I can get my fabric, and I can just go ahead and make the coat. I'm thinking it will probably take about a month. That's fast, by the way. Anyway, so I'm gonna finish eating my snack, and then we will see later. I quickly cut out the collar piece, and then later started pinning it on the neck portion of the front pattern. I have to look at it, because like this is the front bodice piece. I think like number one, it's right there. The front piece. It would go like this, basically. So I finished drafting my sleeve patterns. Hopefully these work. This was a full sleeve. I have it temporarily taped just so I could see what it looked like when it was slightly more in a 3D-ish shape. This is the backing of it. For example, like if it was in a shape, it would be folded like that, and then this piece would be in between it, and they would be connected on the sides. Ignore my like George Washington hairstyle right now. I don't know what's going on with it. This one just did not want to do its job. Anyway, patterning this, I'm going to cut it out into a basic, just random fabric that I'm not going to use, and then I will try it on. And then I need to cut out the lapels and the collar. I also made sure I was diligent about ironing all of the seams on the sleeves and on the rest of the bodice. I know that it's just a mock-up, but ironing the mock-ups can greatly impact the outcome of your finished garment. To attach the sleeve, first turn both your front bodice and your sleeve inside out. Then pin the pieces together and then sew it. I used a loose combination stitch for this in a bright red thread so it could be easy to remove but still be strong enough to withstand being taken on and off. I then tried on the bodice. Most of it fit fairly well, but there were some things I needed to tweak. So after further testing, it's alright. It fits. It's definitely comfortable. And there are just some like fitting issues. I just feel like there's parts where it pulls. Alright, I think I came to more of a conclusion. One second. So I started just kind of looking at it because when I would do this with my shoulders, the fabric in the middle of my back would kind of scrunch up, like really weirdly. So I was doing this on the outer fabric so you can see it on the outside right now, though realistically it would be on the inside and it would be just the same. But I have this little shark fin and I got rid of the puckering issue a lot more. There's still a little bit at the shoulders, but I got rid of most of it that was happening because it would scrunch up like this. Then I still had an issue kind of here. There was still an issue. It wasn't the problem with the sleeve, I don't think, because the sleeve's fine. The sleeve's doing its job. But it's just something here. I was like, is it my shirt or something? I noticed that it would kind of bunch up a lot more. And I was like, okay, so maybe I can try pinching it out with some pins on the outer fabric so I can see what I was doing. And then I realized maybe I can just, when I actually do the coat, when I put the sleeves in, I gather the armhole of it first so I can fit it in a lot easier, so that I use some of the fabric around it so that it, one, can give me a little bit of puff. So, I do think there's a little bit of an issue with the sleeve. It's just the way it kind of folds here. It could just be I need to take some fabric out. Oh, I don't know. We will see. Sleeves are a pain, I've noticed. They are not easy to work with, but for right now, I'm just kind of doing my own thing, and that works. I just wanted to find one that was better than what I did for my first coat. After I was done talking about the fitting, I got back to work on the collar and lapel. I swiftly cut out the lapel pattern so that I could cut muslin from it as well. Tis becoming a work in progress. So I'm working on getting the lapel put on. Just ignore the side because the side doesn't have a sleeve, it doesn't have a lapel or collar. I just realized I think I put the collar a little too close. I think I need to have it a little farther back because it's kind of doing this whole rolling thing and it's supposed to do that behind my neck instead of near my collarbone. But look, I'm wearing a sweater underneath so I can compare how the movement's supposed to be with a sweater underneath, and it works. This has been taking forever. It has been a journey to just get the sleeve to work, to get the bodice to work. There's still tweaks, but it's going well. Hopefully it stays that way. I finished pinning the lapel and collar on the right side of my coat bodice, and then did some additional fittings on the mannequin and on myself. So now I finished doing the lapels. I finished doing the sleeve, at least. For now it seems alright, and the collar is fitting relatively well. So now I need to cut out the skirt panels a little better, because the one I did was kind of more of a temporary, just like I needed to put it on there just to see how it looked. I mean, it's alright, but I don't want that. I want it to be very full, very 1950s-esque. So I'm actually going to take part of like a circle skirt pattern almost, and I'm going to take that and use it on my coat. Hopefully it works. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't. We shall see. I just cut out a very basic 2-piece circle skirt and cut it into fourths so I could use more panels if I wanted to. And also so it would be easier to pin it on with more smaller panels than 2 larger panels. And also because it doesn't have to technically close in the front because it's open there. You can see that it should be very drapey, very full. And that is exactly what I wanted, so that's nice. I accidentally cut it a little short though on the other side, so I had to pin it. This is going to just be my pattern because I don't have enough of that actual pattern paper right now to use. I also just don't want to use all of it. So I'm just going to leave this as a pattern. I should hopefully I'll remember it and I don't throw it away. Or I don't put it in my fabric bag. So. Then I did the same thing for the 3 pieces as I did for the first panel. I then pinned them on the dress form, and so far they look pretty good. After testing the fitting, I then pinned them together and sewed them. This is what she looks like on me. When I did the first, when I cut the back piece, I cut it a little short, so it's kind of doing like that Regency puff. But other than that, it's not looking bad. I then sewed all the skirt pieces to the bodice piece. And after all of the pinning, sewing, draping, and seam ripping, the mock-up is now complete. I do still have a few things I could tweak, but I think it's good for now. Since part 1 is now complete, the next video will be all about the construction of the coat and lots of hand sewing. So until next time, happy sewing!